Welcome. Welcome to the world of Q&A. So I'm so sorry for being late. It's not Gaz's fault this time. Bit of a battle this evening over carrots and hatred. Children. Long story. But I'm ill prepared. We're here, we're going, we're live. I can see quite a few of you there in chat already waiting for me, which just makes the guilt that much worse. But we're going to have a good time to make up for it. But before we do, a word from our sponsor. Oh, is this ready? A word from our sponsor? Sure, whatever. It's going to be fine. Our sponsor, Game On Daily. This platform that looks brilliant. My green screen's deceiving me, or betraying me, or letting me down. Game On Daily, this wonderful platform that you can see over here, is news aggregation, community stuff. Talk to each other, get the latest gaming news, find out just what the UK have been saying about Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft, and all the other things that are going on. Do people like the Last of Us Remaster, Remake, whatever it's called? You know the drill. All of those kind of things. Let's go. Let's get into it. So how is everyone this week? We're going to start like we always do. We're going to start with, obviously I've got an OST playing and I've got a background. The background is quite easy today. The OST might be a disaster. So the OST is... Yes, painful discourse. I will move to live chat straight away. And you've gone beyond identifying the game and identified the region of the game. So fine, have all of the points for that one. The OST is more difficult. The OST I downloaded weeks ago and decided I didn't want to use it because it wasn't actually all that good throughout. So there might be some weird stuff that you hear. The software that I used to rip music from YouTube decided I couldn't have a fresh one. Plus, for the aforementioned reasons, I kind of ran out of time in my preparation. So OST that is playing is a very good game, with some high points and some low points in the OST that will play through in the background, and you can see if you can figure out what it is. Sony's heard a rumor that Sony is acquiring Game On Daily. Here's a funny story. I saw a job listing for Sony PlayStation. I wanted to apply for it, but it was literally a job listing to be the person that sets up those Game Pass blocking deals. So it's a content scout for marketing deals. So I could have become the most hated person at Game On Daily. At the moment, like there's mostly two of us at Game On Daily, really. And at the moment, I'm not the most hated one. But I would have become the most hated one. That would have been a story. Take it. Not so easy, Tony. Not so easy. So, it is a real job, though. Stuff. I want to know what you've been playing. I'm going to talk about what I've been playing. And I'm going to start off with what I've been playing for... I'm about 65 hours into it now, so I've played quite a lot, and that's Octopus Traveller. I'm still working my way through it, so I'm not going to talk about it for ages because I know we've spoken about it the last couple of weeks as well, but I'll give you a little progress update, completely spoiler free. So I am now hopefully nearing the end of the game. All of my 8 characters for the Octopus Traveller, the Octo, here's the hint, it's got nothing to do with squids. There are 8 characters. All of their stories are 4 chapters long. All of my characters are on their 4th chapter now. I still don't know for sure if there's a kind of convergence chapter at the end of it all. But I finished the 4 chapters for one character. I've got 7 more to complete. The intro background was Octopath. Not today. Unless I've got the wrong one playing. You shouldn't be hearing Octopus Traveller right now. Tony, you're supposed to play all of them. Or at least, I hope that their stories converge into a dramatic finale at the end of it. Anyway, I've got a long way through. I played it for like 63 hours. It's a middling Japanese RPG. The structure is very repetitive. So there's 8 characters, 4 chapters each. That's 32 missions that all sit in the same kind of structure. Gaz is just selling me a property. Gaz doesn't sell houses. Like, oh yeah, he did help with our house purchase actually, but no, he's not doing that right now. Tinykin, I've seen the name of it around Selrongron. I've not played it. I will not play it for the achievements, but if you tell me that it is a good game besides that, then I will check it out. And so yeah, 32 chapters, all of which are structured in exactly the same way. You mill about town, you use your character's signature ability. One of my character's signature ability is stealing candy from children. It's very strange. Then you go into a dungeon and then you do a boss, chapter complete. And some of the individual stories are not terrible. They have some nice story beats going through, but the structure is repetitive. The game is long, drags out, like it's very drawn out in the middle. So I would say you'd need to be a real JRPG enthusiast to go and play Octopus Traveller and put that amount of time into it, which might sound obvious. You might think that's going to be true of any game. Like, if you don't like the genre, you're not going to enjoy the game. But I wouldn't say that about like a God of War or even a mediocre. I wouldn't say that about like Saints Row. You don't need to be a fan of action games to decide whether you're going to like Saints Row or not. Octopus Traveller is just, I don't know why, something about the length of it. You need to be a proper genre fan to get any joy from it, I think. So that's that one. Also, sidetracking myself, there's one character in there who I mentioned previously. It's called Therion, and he's a thief. And you have this really awkward dynamic where you've got 7 characters that are all noble heroes in their own right, doing whatever they do to save the world. And one character that's a thief, who's obviously not portrayed as evil, but he steals things. And the game has a terrible, terrible lack of consequences to stealing. So I literally robbed the head of an orphanage who was begging for food. I've been taking candy from children just because there is absolutely no consequence. I will give the game a 12 out of 10 if I get to the end of it and it shows me the consequences of all my thievery. People dying and all the rest of it because I stole their weapons and stuff like that. That would be brilliant. But so far, it's just ridiculous. You just steal stuff. No consequence at all. You see they've got an item. It tells you your odds of success. If you fail, you fail. If you don't, you get the item. It's ridiculous. Have any of you played Octopath? I know... I can't remember if it was Wayne or Peter. One of you started as Therion, as the thief, very recently. Tony, it does sound like Final Fantasy. A lot of people would say it plays like Final Fantasy. A lot of people would give this game's legacy to Final Fantasy, but it is not a Final Fantasy game. So while your ears work, you get no points. The other one that I played, and some of you will know this already because I played it over on my Twitch channel, which you can subscribe to. Not subscribe. YouTube, you subscribe to things. In Twitch, that's me demanding money. I'm not demanding money from you. You can follow my Twitch channel to see some of these things happening live. That's Acer_Game on on the old Twitch. I played Cult of the Lamb. And I played Cult of the Lamb on the PC because the PC version has a Twitch integration that lets people watching interact, help hinder, sabotage, and join my Cult of the Pancakes. So yes, Isla's in the cult. Jack's in the cult. Tony couldn't join the cult because he's got terrible Apple technology. Otherwise, Tony would be in the cult. I've got the ability to murder all of my cult members. Who's played Cult of the Lamb? I know some of you must have, because before it came out, some people on the internet were hyping it as a potential Game of the Year contender. Other people have been saying it's a cross between Doom and Animal Crossing. Tony, you haven't played it at all. After watching me, you weren't. You didn't go straight out and buy it so that you could farm your own stone and wood and all the rest of it. Cult of the Lamb is a weird game. So it's from Devolver Digital, which is always a positive. It's encouraging. Oh, I should bring up a trailer. Let's bring up a trailer so you don't just have my face and my background to look at. Cult of the Lamb is from Devolver Digital. Devolver Digital have a magic knack for picking out good games. And that's fine. They've done it again kind of with Cult of the Lamb. It has some good things about it. It's got a very nice style to it. But I saw the initial trailers and thought, I'm going to get a game that maybe feels a bit like Hades to play. Let's bring the Nintendo Switch version of the trailer up. Never play this game on the Switch if you want to remain friends. We don't like the Switch. Here's Cult of the Lamb. And I've been kind of disappointed with it, to be honest. I'm likely to play it more because it's quite fun to stream. Did I kill Gaz yet? Gaz hasn't joined my cult, so I can't kill him in there. If you mean, did I kill Gaz in real life? I'm going to say not yet, but that makes it sound like I intend to. I don't actually, and you might be surprised by this. I have no particular intention to kill Gaz. Murder's not like a thing I tend to engage in. Things can change though at any minute. So Cult of the Lamb, this trailer is obviously more of a cartoon than showing you anything of the game, but Its action elements are that like isometric hack and slash that I hoped would be Hades, and I'll get back to what it actually is soon. But in between all of those little expeditions into the dungeons, you build your cult and do the Animal Crossing stuff. If you all hold hands and chant my name, then I might appear. I'm already here. I have appeared onto your YouTube screens. Gaz pops in for the occasional minute or two, but that is fine. The Halo news today may have killed Gaz. We can talk a little bit about Halo in a bit. We've got a few topics to get through. Yeah, this is the combat, and I saw the combat and I thought, hey, this might play a bit like Hades. It looks kind of fun. The truth of the matter is it plays a lot more like Death's Door, which, take that to mean whatever you want. Hades is a lot better than Death's Door. So the combat is fine, I guess. The sections in between where you're managing your cult are like kind of amusing, but also not necessarily that interesting. So RWK, welcome along. We started late today, you've not missed much. We're just talking about some games, some Cult of the Lamb if you played any of it. Yeah. I've been playing it. It's all right. I'm going to play it more. If you have not already followed my Twitch account and joined my little cult, then that's sad because I won't be able to murder you. Another trailer playing, might be the same one. Don't know, I wasn't paying attention, but it can play on. And that's Cult of the Lamb. Tell me more about what you're playing though. I want recommendations because I'm this close to the end of Octopus Traveller. Cult of the Lamb I'm definitely only going to play when I'm streaming it on Twitch. It's not one that I'll play like offline in my own time. And as you've probably seen from my Twitch schedule, that means I'm not going to play it all that often. But Painful Discourse has got me a fun fact. Cult of the Lamb did tweeted that it has more followers on Twitter than Scientology. Yeah. Who's Scientology? Who runs the Scientology Twitter account? All they need to do is get whoever's running like the Sonic the Hedgehog account or the Xbox account to take over the Scientology brand account, and they'll get right up there on followers. Ah, Peter says, I'm not the Messiah, I'm a very naughty boy. I don't see why I can't be both. I don't understand. Isla's chat is bugged out. I hope my chat is there and working. If you feel like I am missing everything that you're saying, then we'll blame the chat. Oh, step 3, my trailer's not over. Play out. The thing that's really put me off most though, on Cult of the Lamb, on the current stage of the game that I'm on, first it's got lots of like menial tasks alongside the fun. But it's told me that if I go and talk to every single follower every time I'm in the camp and tell them that they're nice, then I'll get more powerful. I don't want to do that. I don't want to tell them they're nice. I've got the ability to murder them, so maybe I tell them they're nice and then I give them the old stab in the back. As far as recommendations go, if you liked Death's Door's combat, then you're off to a good start with Cult of the Lamb. If you didn't, you need to at least appreciate that kind of combat. It does make up a big part of the game. Characters are annoying. I don't know. Mid-game, definitely not game of the year. You could have some fun with it. I'm going to play it a bit more and try and have some fun with it. Painful Discourse has just played and finished What Remains of Edith Finch before it's gone from Game Pass. I didn't know that was dropping out of Game Pass. I need to pay more attention. I've heard a lot of people say that's really good. I know Dealer likes to champion that as a really good game. I know they've only just enhanced it for the Series X and the PS5 as far as I know. So I should get on and play it. I'm assuming it came off of Game Pass yesterday with Hades, so I've already missed it. But I'll pick it up at some point if that's the case. So far, the chat is great, but the stream is very lackluster. This is painful for me, Pete. So what have I done? Let's move on to the topics. So we've got a few. One of the things that we can talk about that I'll come back to a little bit later is the fact that it's September. That makes some things happen. It means we can look forward to what games are coming out in September, what's going on to Game Pass, what's going on to PlayStation Plus, and all the rest of it. So we'll get there. But first we're going to talk about the bit of news that most people probably want to talk about, or maybe a little bit divisive. Some people probably really don't want to talk about it because Microsoft and Activision and Blizzard, people have their opinions. People have strong opinions on whether that's interesting or not. You had a very quick look at Immortality, and we'll definitely go back to it. Yep. Immortality got some really, really strong initial review scores. I think it's leveled off a bit since, but that's a interactive movie game, right? So it's one that it's on a long list of interactive movie games that I've got on a backlog, to be fair. I can get some enjoyment from that kind of game. And maybe if that's supposed to be one of the best of them, maybe I should start there, but it's not likely to be soon. I've got a lot to play. So Microsoft, you might have heard the little rumor that they are trying to acquire Activision Blizzard for like some money, $70 billion. And today the UK Competition and Markets Authority, something like that, I can't remember what they're called, didn't reject it, but have said that they found reason to be concerned, and they are recommending a deeper phase 2 look at the deal. They've said they've given Microsoft and presumably Activision Blizzard about 5 days to respond to their concerns to the extent that they feel better about it. And if they can't do it within that time, they're going to go to phase 2 looking at the deal, which is very likely to be what happens. I don't know what Microsoft would have to say in order to prevent this phase 2 investigation. So at the very least, the deal's going to take a lot longer. Someone from this excuse for a government read a letter from Sony. That's all that happened. Sauron Grant, I'm sure that's not what happened. I know that this is a sore point for a lot of the Xbox community, and I've seen people responding to the official, for some reason, the Competition and Marketing, whatever they're called, authority, have a Twitter account where they announced this as well. So I've seen lots of people responding directly to their Twitter thing, going full like console war mode to tell them how wrong they are and all the rest of it. It's not that simple. So they've had a good look at it, and some of their reasons that they identified are all fairly obvious, all things that we kind of expected them to identify. So let's break it down. I was confused. What have I done? So Painful Discourse says, Hoglaw said it's probably a non-issue, but the language was funny. Word for word what Sony said in Brazil at points. Some of it was Painful Discourse, and so Hogue is obviously like quite an expert in this field. No word from me to abandon tonight's stream. Oh, Peter can't see it. I think tell Peter to refresh. Somebody with typing skills, tell Peter he must please refresh the stream. Because I've been talking to him directly, and I suspect that he's just got a holding screen. So there's a mystery that we can solve together. By the way, if you are watching late, if you are like Peter and you've missed most of the show, or something has gone wrong, or if you just don't catch these live, please do leave a comment to say hello. Say anything you want. Comments help. If you've got questions, then I'll have questions. But if you just want to say something, I will appreciate it. Peter, I'm very confused. Very confused indeed. Peter, can you hear us? For those not watching live, or if you've got the live chat replay, Peter's telling me to abandon the stream, and I'm either feeling deeply offended or Peter can't see us right now. I'm not going to abandon the stream. It's going all right. It's going all right, I hope. But moving on. So, Activision Blizzard, yes, there is some wording that's very much a response to the things that Sony have said, and there's some wording that's not. And I should bring it up, and I'm going to. Let me get rid of this YouTube trailer. Stop, YouTube, stop. Because I've got oh, there's loads. It's too much to put on the screen. I'll put the light version on. Put the light version on. Yeah. Not like this. Come on, Windows. So, Tim Sweeney's been moaning about Windows this week. He's not wrong. It has some things that are messy. This is not going to be the easiest thing to see. You can't read that at all. This is the UK gov.uk website. Press release over. Yeah, we've got confirmation. Peter just couldn't see the stream. Peter, if you're here now, we've been running for ages. I'm very sorry that you missed it, but you were still a part of the show because you threw me off big time. But here we go. So, Microsoft Activision deal could lead to competition concerns. The press release starts off talking about competition with Sony. The quotes from, I don't know how you say the name, but Sorcha O'Carroll I'm going to go with, say, following our Phase 1 investigation, we are concerned that Microsoft could use its control over popular games like Call of Duty and World of Warcraft post-merger to harm rivals, including recent and future rivals in multi-game subscription services and cloud gaming. If our current concerns are not addressed, we plan to explore this deal in an in-depth Phase 2 investigation to reach a decision that works in the interests of UK gamers and businesses. We're UK gamers, so stop moaning about it. Let them do their thing. I say we're UK gamers. I'm aware some of you aren't. Green screen, you're letting me down again. Oh, this is what I get when I rush into the stream with poor preparation. Don't hate me. It's one of those days. If a stream starts late, I'll make Isla type something in chat to get things going. Make sure people aren't left behind on the waiting screen. So sorry about that. There's a new kind of mess. I just had a notification that OBS disconnected. So Peter, you may have cursed the stream. Hopefully, I'm back up on YouTube now without too much of an interruption. But that's new. That's not happened before. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. Funnily enough, this show was due to have problems. We were due to have a power cut at the starting time today. It got cancelled last minute. It got cancelled earlier. Well, I say last minute. This morning it was cancelled. I am back. I don't know where that disconnection came from. It's definitely this end. So if it happens again, don't smash your shit up. I'll smash mine up. Deal. Yeah, so the stuff that they're identifying that makes a lot of sense, the cloud streaming and multi-game subscription services. Is the Activision Blizzard deal good for competition in that space? One, it's pretty hard to argue that it is good for competition in that space because obviously it makes it harder for other people to enter that nascent market, they call it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the deal shouldn't go ahead. So with their example of Call of Duty, they say that they're worried that Microsoft they'll release it for other platforms, but the terms, like lesser terms than they're offering to their own customers. And implication of that is that they're saying that it will be free, it'll be included in Game Pass on the Xbox side, and they'll make people on the PlayStation side pay for the game, and that's not fair. And the reason that I think that'll get dismissed in their Phase 2 investigation is fairly simple, and it's that if the acquisition doesn't go ahead, those games are obviously not going into PlayStation Plus anyway. There's been no hint that that Call of Duty would be in PlayStation Plus. So in terms of the UK customer, that competitive disadvantage doesn't impact us at all. We're getting something that we wouldn't otherwise have. We're getting more access to the game, not less. So I'm not a lawyer and I'm not looking at this in that way, but I would be surprised if that is long-term an issue. A lot of people are very focused on Sony in this. I think Google and Amazon are more interesting because they actually do have streaming services as well. They are trying to enter that market, and the impact that it has on them probably is harder to read than the impact that it has on Sony. Because they're going to have a harder time without Call of Duty than they would have with it for their Luna and their Stadia and all the rest of it. But again, these are things that don't currently exist and Microsoft aren't ruining. So I don't anticipate it's a problem. The thing that does partly work against Microsoft is that the acquisition is $70 billion. Xbox don't have that money. Microsoft do. So competition authorities are weary of major tech companies using money from other areas of their business to secure industries that they don't currently dominate. So it's going to be looked at in that context. But again, it depends how you envisage Microsoft's business, because while they don't dominate games right now, Game Pass is a cloud business, and Microsoft as a cloud provider are investing their cloud money to enhance their cloud services. Isn't so bad. The OST is muted indeed. It will come back. Thank you for the notice. So again, I think when the phase 2 panel of experts look into this, I would imagine the conclusion that they come to is that it's probably okay. The biggest threat to it is the fact that it's very difficult for anybody else to enter the gaming market, and this is going to make it more difficult, not less. I don't think the good for the consumer angle is going to be a big problem. So we'll see, though. I also wouldn't speak in the certain terms that a lot of people with no expertise whatsoever would ascribe to it. A lot of people will tell you the OST is too loud. A lot of people would tell you that it's definitely going through. I would still say probably, because I'm sensible. The funny thing is that the CMA and FTC should look out for consumers, and this is looking out for competitors, mostly Sony, who's number one, and just use that in the UK to raise prices. They're not necessarily different, though, Painful Discourse. So they definitely shouldn't be looking out for a single competitor in that way. They shouldn't be looking out for Sony specifically, but they should be looking out to make sure that competition is still alive and well and thriving, that Microsoft don't completely dominate it, because that is bad for customers. So cloud gaming is the nascent industry that they say it is. At the moment, Game Pass has 30 million subscribers, and Xbox has its 20 million consoles, whatever there is of the new one. And Phil Spencer talks about reaching 2.8 billion customers. Microsoft estimate 4.5 billion customers by the year 2030. So whatever the FTC and the CMA and anybody else is looking at should be considering the way the industry is going to be growing over the next 10 years, because Microsoft sure are. And people that want Call of Duty on Game Pass probably aren't. So the other thing I do have to say is I really don't give a shit. I don't care for Call of Duty. I don't trust Blizzard. I don't trust Activision. If the deal doesn't go through, I'm not going to be hurting at all whatsoever. So I am coming at it from that angle quite specifically. The ZeniMax acquisition was way more interesting than Activision Blizzard to me, despite the massive difference in size and scope. Sony already dominates the console space, and we're seeing how that's going. Yeah, by all means, dismiss the Switch. It's quite interesting, actually. The UK, whatever, CMA, did specifically cite that the Switch targets different customers, mostly different customers to blah, 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 to PlayStation and Xbox. Hoglaw said that you should not regulate a business that is starting to form, cloud gaming. Yeah, that's a difficult one, mate. The cloud gaming in particular, I wouldn't say that they shouldn't regulate it, but I think you have to acknowledge that even if you ignore what Microsoft are doing, it is an industry that is very difficult to get off the ground. There are very few people that can do it. You are looking at Microsoft and Google and Amazon and not many others. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense to really restrict those big players that are capable of delivering this service on the grounds that it's difficult for a new player to enter the market, because even without Microsoft doing anything, it's almost impossible for a new player to set up a service like that. So Hogue is right in that sense, absolutely. It's not something that they should try and suffocate. What they might do, particularly being from the UK and with a history of doing things like this, they might insist that Microsoft allow competing services to use their infrastructure at a competitive price. And that would be very much like, if you live in the UK, then you're probably aware that, not strictly true anymore, but for a long time, all of our phone lines were owned by one company. And that company was not the cheapest provider of those phone lines to the consumer, because they're not allowed to be. They're very, very heavily regulated to let competitors offer their own services as well. So that's the kind of angle that I'm wondering if the UK CMA will push towards for Microsoft. And we already know Sony previously had a letter of intent to work with Microsoft for various things. Yeah, I'd say it's not that they shouldn't regulate it too much, but they do need to be careful not to stifle and suffocate it. Also, I do not care for this deal that much. This is Painful Discourse doesn't care for it that much either. And it would be a shame for the workers at Activision Blizzard. Yeah, that's... When the whole thing first went through, that was my immediate response as well. When the acquisition was announced, Activision Blizzard were obviously going through a torrid time in terms of all sorts of things coming out about the way they've been treating their workforce. So the biggest good to come out of it, as far as I could tell, was exactly that the employees that are going through that would have better overlords. Although from what we gather, it's not necessarily true that Bobby Kotick will be out. It's not necessarily true that any of the hierarchy of evil at Activision Blizzard would actually be pushed out of the way. Microsoft's oversight would surely make things better overall than it has been for the last 20 odd years. So that is true. I do care for it in that sense. I just don't care for the games like you. Why would it be a shame to the workers? That's Gogglepo asking that question. It will be a shame for the workers because of that, which was just discussed. All of the harassment, all of the unionization that they've been trying to go through to fight against it. It's fairly well publicized that both Activision and Blizzard have not treated people well for quite a long time. And while Activision Blizzard did perform an internal investigation and insist that they found nothing amiss, there probably is quite a lot amiss. So it's expected that Microsoft would help that. Their management are... Yes, exactly, Peter. Yes. And I think... not obviously, it's like that's the most important part, like affecting people's lives directly like that, but their management are also pricks in terms of the way they handle monetization of their games as well. So can't get worse, right? Hopefully Microsoft will make it better. Yeah. So Goggleplay, that's what you're on the same page there. You said that Microsoft has an incentive to make it better, not worse. That's exactly what Painful Discourse was saying. That the hope is that the acquisition does go through to make it better for those workers. So that's that. Yeah, the other thing, I just want that deal to go away so people can stop talking about it. It's going to drag on for a long while longer, especially if it does go into this phase 2 in the UK. And it might sound silly, but the deal won't go through until the UK have finished looking at it, as well as all these other organisations that are. I don't know how far along the FTC are. I don't want to have to talk about it every time. There's 60 or 70 different organisations, like competition regulators, looking at this deal. I don't want to talk about it every week, every time one of them says it's okay or not okay. So get through it and we can move on, which is exactly what we're going to do now. So what other topics were there for today? Should we talk about Deathloop? And I say should we talk about Deathloop, I mean should we talk about the month of September and what's coming to various services, what general releases we're going to see, and all the rest of it. But Deathloop is a good starting point, because you've probably all seen it's coming to the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium subscription tiers, which caused some tears and some surprise, because that game is obviously a Bethesda game, Bethesda published. Sony got their 1-year exclusivity deal just before ZeniMax and Bethesda were acquired. So it's been in this this odd kind of situation where it's an Xbox game that's exclusive to PlayStation and PC. It was one of the better games that came out last year. I'm not going to say it was like one of the best thing ever, and all the Xbox fans are missing the time of their life, but it was a decent game. And Xbox people, having a fairly dry first party year, were hoping that might fill a bit of the gap. So yeah, Peter said surely on Game Pass soon. It's a surprise to people, because the assumption was that come September, probably the 15th, I think it came out on September the 15th last year, the exclusivity contract would be over and Microsoft could do whatever they want with it, so it would appear on Game Pass and all the rest of it. That was a fairly broad expectation amongst the Xbox community until recently, when they started to ponder the fact that they've not heard anything yet. So is it going to just shadow drop as soon as the deal is up? Is it going to have a little bit of a marketing build up? Is the deal longer than we thought? All of these kind of questions came up. I think yes to all of them, no to all of them. So most of Sony's marketing deals do stipulate a kind of first right of refusal on all sorts of things. So, and this includes at the point of expiry. So if you see any of Sony's contracts, like the one that leaked for Resident Evil 8, they talk about what you can't do during the year of exclusivity, that you can't even negotiate to put it on other platforms. But they also talk about what happens at the end of that 1 year. And it talks a lot about entering into good faith negotiations with Sony PlayStation if you want to put it on another service like Game Pass. So if you pretend that this studio were independent, they hadn't been acquired by Microsoft, so that you don't have this kind of friction. If it was a normal studio, if they had released, I don't know, if Annapurna had put Stray out after a year of Stray being on PlayStation Plus and being exclusive to that console, if Annapurna then wanted to put it on Xbox, they're welcome to. If they want to put it on Xbox Game Pass, they'd still have to run that by Sony to say, you can put it on your subscription service first if you want. Like, it's not yours, but we'll negotiate a deal in good faith. We'll try to give it to you first. And in many cases, that kind of negotiation could very easily fall apart, because they can say, look, we're trying in good faith, but you're not giving us enough money. Microsoft has to tread very carefully there to actually negotiate in good faith according to the terms of that contract. And that is what I think has happened here. So to avoid any kind of extra scrutiny, extra implication that they're not fair or competitive with Sony, they have actually negotiated a fair deal and put it on to PlayStation Plus. It should also, I don't have the contract in front of me that they have signed with Bethesda, but it is likely that it will also come onto Game Pass at about the same time. I think, from what I understood of what I read of that contract. Painful Discourse has a leak, sort of. A few streams back, Xbox era Jesse showed a list of requests for review codes for this year. They accidentally scrolled down and Deathloop was there. Cool. That's a weird thing, but it's fine. It is review codes. I mean, requesting something doesn't say a lot for when it's going to come out. They like to speculate over there. So, but it was, I mean, it's very, very unlikely that Microsoft would have negotiated an extension to the exclusivity period for that game. So I would think that it is still on that 1 year term. It will be coming to Xbox very soon. It will be coming to Game Pass very soon. It is also coming to PlayStation Plus because they signed a contract that said they would negotiate that in good faith. Tony says, good faith is in all the mortgage loans, yet people don't pay their mortgage, or banks fuck the homeowners over. Anything in good faith are words in the wind. Yes and no, Tony. Good faith is obviously vague and hard to enforce. In most cases, it doesn't stand for a lot, but it doesn't stand for nothing. And it would be, I mean, despite being vague, it is contractual. And it would be awkward for Microsoft if Sony was to take it to court and say they're not negotiating with us in good faith like they promised to do in this contract. And then go through all the vagueness of that and it basically being somebody else's opinion whether they did it in good faith or whether they didn't. So rather than all of that, Deathloop coming to PlayStation Plus for some money. The list was for verified codes. As in, it was a list of codes that they've got. I don't understand what kind of list they're showing. We have contacts with Microsoft and we don't ask for review codes. They send us some occasionally or they offer them. They've not mentioned Deathloop to us, I can tell you that much, but that doesn't mean anything. Kaz has probably offended them in some way anyway, so. You care not a jot about exclusives. You don't buy games over 50 money. It's annoying that Sony keeps their games to themselves. I also don't typically care for things being exclusive. That's the other funny thing that came out of the Activision Blizzard stuff is the UK Competition Markets Authority did specifically say that they've looked at Microsoft's what they're saying versus what they do in reality, and they've said that they bought ZeniMax and then they're keeping Starfield and apparently Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive. So it's hard to believe that they're not going to do the same thing with Activision Blizzard or whatever. It needs to be looked at. They want to look at their internal documents. They're going to use their super legal powers to get internal documents from Microsoft to find out how they actually view competition and what they're planning to do, and why these things don't necessarily quite line up with what they've said. So that'll be fun to see what comes out. You cannot guess the music today. Tony gave chat a hint. Nobody's guessed it yet. I was here. Tony pointed out that it does indeed sound fairly like it has Final Fantasy roots. They were showing stuff in the works for Xbox era content, so you don't know. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. They definitely do reviews a lot, and they probably are hounding Microsoft for code, so I can believe it. Can believe it. But at the same time, if I were them, I probably also would have requested Deathloop under the assumption that it was coming soon. But it's not just Deathloop. It's not just Deathloop. So what else is coming to the subscription services? Let me dig up your website. So Last of Us reviews everywhere. Can't be bothered to type a little search in, so I'm just going to scroll until I see it. Oh, top 5 games coming in September. We'll go through those in a minute. Here we go. Here we go. So we've got the PlayStation blog. I've talked about games coming. We'll do PlayStation first, and then we'll have a look at what we know of Xbox as well. And we'll have a look at what's coming out for the month, because I like games, and there's some games to talk about, and we can decide what ones are going to be worth having a look at. Painful Discourse. No, read that one. Peter Morland. In truth, you think exclusive games are a stupid, ridiculous thing, but just every now and again, you want to see Sony hurt in return for their stupid outlook and behavior. Yeah, I've said elsewhere. Perfect example of Sony being dickheads is the exclusive quest for Hogwarts Legacy. I don't want Hogwarts Legacy. I don't like Harry Potter. I don't care for the game in the slightest. But exclusive quests are just like, fuck off. Stop it now. So I understand people wanting to see them get a little bit of a taste of that in return. Microsoft used to be guilty of it as well. In the Xbox 360 days, Microsoft did all kinds of the same kind of horrible deals, timed exclusivity on Call of Duty map packs and things like that, and they stamped that out, and they are a much better company than they used to be in that sense. Like a lot of the stuff, Phil Spencer, I often say that he's got a silver tongue and he says the right thing to the right audience at all times, but his actions are also mostly positive, and he has definitely stamped out that kind of exclusivity, the kind where you're not bringing anything, you're just denying things from other people. Like Sony would probably argue with the Hogwarts Legacy thing that they're paying a bit of extra money to get a better experience for their fans and players. And that angle can make some sense, but at the same time, that's content that's being developed that would work on all platforms. So let them have it. Like, it's just weird. It's slimy and horrible. Hogwarts publisher fucked themselves hard, says Tony. That game already got a lot of people saying not to buy it because of the writer. Now the exclusive thing is the cherry on top. You'd think that they'd look at the reception for Spider-Man in Marvel's Avengers and say, hey, people are getting wise to this exclusivity being slimy malarkey, because that really hurt Marvel's Avengers, like the backlash when they announced that character was PlayStation exclusive. They learned nothing from it, and they're still going to do it. Obviously, it's more minor than Spider-Man, but still annoying. So I get that. Gogglepod, don't think Starfield will be that big to have leverage. Call of Duty would be, though. Coffee. Can't quite reach to put it down. There we go. Glug is right. That was a delicious coffee. So before I got sidetracked by Hogwarts, there's PlayStation stuff on screen. Oh, green screen. Oh no. I have to be very particular to get this to not ruin things for me, and I wasn't particular today because I was late and in a rush. So forgive my transgressions. So PlayStation Plus, the base tier, the essential tier, which is still equivalent to games with gold, really. Painful Discourse, Spider-Man exclusive Avengers was worth it. Exactly. It had a horrific backlash, and I still say was a significant reason for that game being received the way that it was. But Google Pay, you're actually not buying the game now out of principle. It's annoying to get a game that doesn't have content you paid for. That's how you see it. Google Pay, if you had a PlayStation, would you be buying that game? When obviously you would be getting the content, but still have the principle of the fact that it's crap, what they've done. You might back out if the game is super duper awesome. Yeah, a little bit of FOMO if it gets a positive reception, I understand. Oh, you got a PlayStation 4, but you didn't get a PlayStation 5 before the price increase. Unless you're in the US, in which case you're Sony's favourite and you don't have to deal with the price increase. Smash the like button now or later or whenever. Smash it hard. Don't break anything. So, the PlayStation Plus Essential tier. Need for Speed Heat, PlayStation 4 version. Don't care. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, you bastards. I bought that about a month ago. Didn't like it. Painful Discourse has broken his like button. And the PlayStation 5 game is Toem. It's a photo adventure. So this is actually, I would say, probably the worst PlayStation Plus Essential month for a little while. But still probably pissing all over the Xbox Live Gold offering. This is John Dunn. The thing putting you off of Hogwarts is when it's being released. Holidays would have been a great time, but there's too much in the first half of next year. Are we getting a February overload again? Hogwarts has been delayed to February, right? Obviously this year, February had Dying Light 2, Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, and one other, but I can't remember what. February was a patch month. Peter Morland is getting ahead and talking about Xbox Live, Games with Gold, and Portal 2. You're right, that is a nice final 360 game. But still pretty low value in terms of a subscription offering. So, Toem I'm not going to play. It's a photography game. I don't mind that it's black and white, but photography games don't do it for me. So, that's PlayStation Plus Essentials, which, like I say, is weaker than most offerings. They've done pretty well. Pretty well since the launch of the PlayStation 5 and in offering kind of appealing games. John Dunn says February does seem packed, but also growing up. Harry Potter always on at Christmas. Painful Discourse says Tony is right. Prices increase in the US too. It's all bundled. So Tony, yeah, that came up on Go Live as a potential thing. What I don't get though is, like I said last week, if I was Sony raising the price, I would disguise it in that way. Either a new SKU, like change something about the console to excuse the change in price, or bundle it to obfuscate it, to just to talk like that, to disguise what you're doing. If that is what has happened in the US, and I've only heard from some pretty Xbox-centric people that that's the case, so I don't know. I don't live in the US. I've not tried to shop and find a PlayStation 5 that doesn't have a game bundled in. But if that is actually how they're handling it over there, why didn't they do the same for the rest of the world? It's like it's a lot more sensible. Because from what I gather, that's been something they've been doing in the US for a little while, and people weren't complaining. Not like the backlash they got for actually raising the price elsewhere. Sauron Grant, only use it for the PlayStation VR and not that impressed with most games. Unlikely to upgrade to PSVR 2. PSVR and PSVR 2 are leagues apart though. I don't use PSVR. I can't use PSVR. It makes me sick and it's very unimpressive. I respect Sony for doing it because they were at that point in VR where nobody knew what they were doing, and they did some things very well. VR has moved on a long way, and PlayStation have moved with it. The PlayStation VR 2 looks like it'll be a very good device, much more usable than the first one. I sincerely hope that they do have a wireless option planned for it, which they still haven't said. But I'm excited for that. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Don't dismiss it based on the first PlayStation VR. But that's a sidetrack. It's also probably going to be expensive if you look at the things that they're doing with their own, with the PlayStation 5 hardware, and look at the fact that Meta had to add $100 or £100 to their little headset. Tony Okami Gold Live lost its value since it's been out for years. Games are not forever, hence the Game Pass creation to offer day and date. But gonna reread that. Tony Okami, and I don't think he's trolling with this one. 98% of Tony comments are massive troll efforts, but this one I think he's being sincere. Gold lost its value since it's been out for years. Games are not forever. So you're talking about the difference. They changed with the Xbox One the way that the free games were delivered. Xbox 360 games, right up to this day, right up to the end of this month, if you redeemed those on Games with Gold, you owned them, kept them forever. You could cancel the service and you still had those games. With the Xbox One, they changed the licensing model there so that you had them for as long as you're subscribed. And that's been the case ever since. For those unaware, most people that have Games with Gold at the moment have probably received the email from Microsoft today or yesterday, and the news broke a few months ago. Xbox 360 and Xbox One games are no longer going to be provided on Xbox Live Games with Gold. They've depleted the back catalogue that they can offer through that service. Portal 2 and Thrillville are the last ones that we're getting. Sauron Grant, you're going to check back on PSVR in about 3 to 4 years if you're still here. Don't be all morbid, like, you'll still be here unless you're thinking maybe you will have like won a luxury villa on Mars or whatever Elon Musk's trying to do at the moment. You'll still be here or hereabouts. And there'll be loads of PlayStation VR 2 games. It'll be a great time. Sidetracked, but that's fine. So what have we got on Games with Gold this week? Someone remind me. I could go and find it. I'm feeling lazy. We'll get to these other PlayStation games soon. Oh, look, there's the Toe-in-One. Nah, I don't want it. We'll get to this little collection soon. But remember what's on Games with Gold. So I know Portal 2 is on there for the Xbox 360 version. All of the games are playable on the series consoles through the backward compatibility. So it'll be a relatively nice version of Portal 2. But it is a game that's been available for next to nothing for a long time. I think they've got the RRP listed at $20 or something, but it is what it is. It's a nice addition, a nice farewell to 360 games on the surface. Thrillville, I've never played. It's an original Xbox game, so I might actually download that to give it a go. Some people speak fondly of it, but I have never played it, don't really know what it is. What are the Xbox Series games, or Xbox One games, I should say, that are releasing on Games with Gold this month? Don't make me look. Fine, I'm gonna look. Won't be far away. If I just click around, I'm not going to use the keyboard and do any clever searching. Sure. Here we go. It'll be on here. So what do we got? Advertising stuff. Oh, Gods Will Fall. I played Gods Will Fall. It's not good. Sorry, developers of Gods Will Fall. I tried. So that's it's a roguelike game where you have a little team of people and you have to go and kill some gods. And if you die, then you take a different hero and go in and try and get back to... You can recover your heroes and all the rest of it. I didn't get through the gameplay loop very far because the combat felt sludgy. So if Cult of the Lamb feels a lot like Death's Door, Gods Will Fall feels a lot like Death. That's too harsh. I don't know what it feels like, but I didn't have a good time with it. And Double Kick Heroes I've also never played. I think that's a side-scrolling rhythm-based platformer. And as I have no sense of rhythm, I haven't tried it. But actually that one I'll probably give a download and give it a try. So between PlayStation Plus Essential and Games with Gold, they're actually not that far apart this month for my taste. For the first time in a long time. Because Portal 2 is good and because I might actually try Double Kick Heroes, I'd probably give the edge to Games with Gold just about. But let's have a look at the more... Oh, Patrick's here, Femsy's here. I'm literally interrupting myself mid-sentence to say hello and welcome. Thanks for stopping by and seeing what we're up to. It's been a disastrous one. We had a late start. We've had a disconnection midstream. I've had a child that refuses to eat carrots so hard that he's decided we hate him and he's going to leave home and we'll never see him again. Drama. Big drama. But we're here, we're talking games, and everything's fine and good. So John Dunn says that Xbox will be better dropping 2 bigger games onto Xbox Live Games with Gold. That's one thing I've been looking through the communications from Microsoft around Games with Gold, and they've not said what they're changing in our favour. Normally when these services take games away, they tell you what you're getting in return. Microsoft haven't said we're getting anything extra. So I don't know if we're going to get... At the moment, you get 2 Xbox One games, which may or may not be series games, but 2 Xbox One games, you get a 360 game and an original Xbox game, typically most months, but always the 4 games. They've said they're taking 2 of those away. Yeah, that's what they've said. They've not said what they're doing. Are we getting better quality for the 2 games? Are we getting 3 games, 4 games? I don't know yet. Guess we'll find out soon. Oh yes, we had idiots that forgot to refresh, who sat there. Oh, this was drama. So I'm sitting here doing the stream like normal, talking about the stuff we're talking about. I think I was talking about Cult of the Lamb at the time. And Peter Morland there was yelling in chat that we need to cancel the stream. He said the chat's great, like the people talking in chat are all fun and good, but the stream's terrible and we need to cancel it. And I was reading this, and Peter, I was hurt. I was like, oh, I've had a bad day, but I didn't think it was going that badly. Is it that awful? So we have drama everywhere. Drama everywhere, but it was all a misunderstanding. Everything's going just fine. I haven't heard my kid run away from home yet. Everything's going just fine. Xbox, just do a PlayStation and convert to Game Pass, the basic one. Yeah, it's a long-running criticism that Games with Gold even exists. So PlayStation Plus Essential and Games with Gold both had this history of being fairly forced. You're obliged to get these services if you want to use those consoles online, and the games are just a side thing to sweeten the deal. So Microsoft had the Xbox 360, which had a very good online service that they felt was worth charging people for. I'd agree with them. They did. People argue now that, like, why do console players pay for using their own internet? It's ridiculous. Today it is ridiculous, but with the Xbox 360, Microsoft did deliver a lot that you didn't really get elsewhere. The 360 was the first cohesive online experience, and they charged for that, and it made sense at the time. PlayStation rivaled that service with, I can't remember what it was called, Game with Q. They had a weird name for their service, but it was essentially just free games. And their online service was free, but it was terrible. Both companies copied each other. Sony got their act together on their online service and started charging for it. Microsoft realized they weren't competing on the what looks good to the customer front, so they started offering free games. And you had 2 like-for-like services trading blows for the next many years, well past their use-by, sell-by date. Both services should have gone away last generation with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. When those services that had made the Xbox 360 online service worthwhile had become commonplace on PC for free. Common everywhere. There was nothing special about them anymore. They should have stopped charging, but when's a business going to stop charging? Never. So they kept charging, and they're still charging to this day. Microsoft, I think, fairly clearly want people to move from Games with Gold over to Games Pass, and they pulled that little maneuver last year where they said they're going to double the price of Games with Gold, which I'm sure was intended to shunt people over. Right now, Games with Gold is still a bigger service than Game Pass. So Microsoft, all money bags as they are not going to cut off that source of income. Not yet, anyway. They'll keep trying to shift people over. Games Pass will become their default, with Games with Gold lagging behind. But for the time being, it's still the bigger service. So they're still pushing it, still making us pay for our online play, unless it's a free-to-play game. Sony, on the other hand, have taken a slightly different approach. Their subscription service, they've layered tiers on top of it. So I'm explaining to people that already know. I'm sure you're all very aware of the differences between the way they present their services, despite the similarities. But there are no signs that Sony will be removing their essential tier they've built it into the PlayStation Plus offering going forwards. And their by far most popular tier is still PlayStation Plus Essential, with far less people subscribing to the extra and premium tiers of that service, and so on and so forth. People here, look, you can throw up a poll if you don't mind. What you subscribe to? Actually, don't throw up a poll. The subscription services are too convoluted. Just tell me, which ones do you subscribe to between the three? What tier of PlayStation Plus have you got? Do you have Games with Gold? Do you have Game Pass? Them's the questions. Tony, question, why can't we share Xbox Family Game Pass with other country friends? Because, Tony, it's illegal to have friends in other countries. We are the criminals. I'm sure, Tony, that it's a precaution to stop people from exploiting it. The reason, I would think, is that the service will be a lot cheaper in some countries than others. So Xbox don't want you to buy Xbox Game Pass in the Philippines and share it with people in the UK. So you've probably heard a lot of people have PlayStation network accounts in Turkey because the games are cheaper there. So if you imagine a scenario where the cheapest version of Game Pass is in Turkey, so you get one person to create an account, sign up in Turkey and share it with their whole family in the UK. The cross-country thing will be for that reason. And it's not massively unfair. If I've got any criticism, so again, those that don't know, Microsoft, I think, formally have branded the sharing as Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family. Does Nintendo Online count? Yeah, of course it does. Why wouldn't it? Nintendo make games into online services. I'm not laughing at them. Sauron Grant says we should be thankful that they let us game share. Game share is something that there is room for improvement on now. So I'm not saying this as an ingrate. The friends and family plan that they are bringing to Xbox Game Pass. So let's get rid of that. What's on the screen? Yeah, Games with Gold. We don't need that anymore. The friends and family, the branding is interesting because they are like formally accepting that people are going to share this service with friends and not just family, which might seem minor, but typically these big corporations, even if they do allow that and will never challenge it, they wouldn't put it front and center. They'd hope that people don't do it. They'd hope that people think that it's not really what it's intended for, or it just doesn't occur to them to save themselves some money. But Microsoft put it front and center. You can share this service with whoever you want in your country, friends and family. It's going to be whatever price it is. I can't remember. The price was fairly clear to work out. It was like $25 or something. Whatever it was, whatever price has been touted, I'm sure is accurate on that one. You get it, and you can share the service with 4 other people. So 5 people in total, including yourself, can access the games on Game Pass, can access the online features of Games with Gold, can all play at the same time, can have a good time and play some games. And that's good. Microsoft doing that is good. The only thing that I would say they should still be pressured on slightly is those kind of terms should apply to games that are bought as well. So getting good things for Game Pass is going to benefit me personally. I've got 2 subscriptions at the moment. I will cut that down to 1 and I will still have a spare license. It's not that I'm like an entitled dickhead who's telling Microsoft that that's not good enough. But in the whole physical games versus digital games, what we're gaining, what we're losing, all the rest of it, it will be nice if they still considered that people do buy games digitally and those should also be shared on good terms. Do I game at all on PC? I most definitely do game on PC. Isn't that anti-competitive? Sony wouldn't do it. It's not. It's already done. If you buy a game, this is a ridiculous thing to do. I'm not recommending anybody does it. But if you buy a game on Google Stadia, you can share it with 4 other people. Tony, you can understand who, unlike Jaffe ramblings. Who doesn't understand David Jaffe? David Jaffe is hyperactive and says some wild stuff, but he's also on point a lot of the time. He's definitely not always on point, but I wouldn't discount things that he says. His industry experience is still relevant. Sauron Grant, you pay for your Game Pass and your grandson. So I've got 4 people in my house at the moment. I'm the only one that uses it. I'm such a mug. I say often that trying to get my kids to play games on Game Pass is like trying to get them to eat vegetables. Not quite as dramatic as trying to get them to eat vegetables today, but typically the idea that they're reluctant to do it. I cannot get them to play games on Game Pass. I have 2 subscriptions to make sure that they both have all the access they could ever want to Game Pass, and they don't touch it. Jaffe is a goblin-like gas. There's definitely, yeah, some commonality between the 2 of them. So, Goggleplayer, you do think the Microsoft strategy of PC inclusion is a lot bigger than given credit? Yeah. And I liked, they used to do cross-buy as well. That's less common now. So Microsoft, before Game Pass went cross-platform, they had a cross-buy initiative. And some games this generation have done it. Yakuza Like a Dragon, Dirt 5, things like that. You buy those on Xbox, you also own them on PC. That was nice. It's useful. Tony, you will buy me a bottle if I've heard of Atari game subscription. As in the modern Atari. It's a scam, don't touch it. Spriggan, Gogglepad, to us PC players, they owed us inclusion before they released their box. We were buying the games they published on PC and their operating system, and they stabbed us in the back. So, Microsoft's previous forays into gaming on PC were disasters. So, I don't know what they owed us. I don't know. I think a lot of PC gamers probably didn't want Microsoft to come back. And they've had to work very hard to earn any trust at all, and most people still ignore them and just try and buy their games on PC if they can. Tony wins with Plex Arcade. Tony, you can't answer your own questions and then claim prizes. It doesn't work like that. I can't stop you. Get yourself a bottle of drink. Have fun. So Microsoft, Gogglepo is asking Sauron Grant, in what sense Microsoft stabbed PC gamers in the back? And it is basically, it's just the principle that Microsoft were a PC company. They made an operating system, they made Windows, they made games for Windows, and then all of a sudden they hatched the idea of Xbox and brought their best games to Xbox and pretty much abandoned PC for a long time. And they built up Xbox, and then they went back to PC in terrible style, and they went with what was it called? Games for Windows Live. So they, rather than starting to cater for PC gamers in the way that they're doing so today, they started to bring the bad side of Xbox Live over to PC. As in, you had to subscribe to play online on games on PC and all of that kind of stuff. And they had a horrible launcher. PC gamers thoroughly rejected everything that they were doing, and they went away with their tails between their legs for a few years. So Microsoft coming back onto PC, some console people saw this happening and were, like, quite rightly wondering why do I on the console have to pay Xbox Games with Gold to play Sea of Thieves online, whereas on the PC they get exactly the same game and they don't have to pay a subscription fee to play it online on the exact same servers with crossplay. How is that fair? The answer is it's not fair. It's surprising that console players still aren't pushing back on that, to be honest. It's surprising that Microsoft is still getting away with Games with Gold in the way that they are, whilst offering exactly the same features and services for free to other people. But there we go. You get free Portal 2 and Thrillville. They paid big money to make some games. Halo was thrown away from Apple. Yep. PC gamers don't really care about that though. You're old, you've been PC gaming for a long time. Yes, also, I like the PC. I play everything if I can. So I'm playing Octopus Traveller on the PC, and I'm playing Octopus Traveller on the Xbox, and Quick Resume is very handy for that game, so it's a good place to play it. But I will play... what else am I playing at the moment? I'm playing Cult of the Lamb on the PC, but not because it's demanding, that's just for the Twitch integration. But I'd play something like Yakuza Like a Dragon on the PC, just because the consoles hit a certain level and the PC can go beyond. So if I can go beyond, then I will play on the PC, if I can use the extra power that's available there. But consoles are still a nice experience, and there are many games that I play on those as well. We ended up with years of low-quality broken ports and few high-quality exclusives. Yes, Spriggan, the PC has... I mean, that's not necessarily just a Microsoft issue. Low-quality ports is something PC gamers suffered with for a long time. It's not nearly as bad now as it used to be. So one of my favourite games ever is an obscure one that no one will have heard of and no one will have played, called Asheron's Call 2. And that was an MMORPG. It was Microsoft's attempt at EverQuest. So MMORPGs before World of Warcraft ruined them all. And they mishandled it horribly. Like, Microsoft were always a bit of a disaster. They had Flight Sim that they did well. They had Age of Empires that they did well. But yes, they abandoned it all for console. Yes, Ash's Trousers 2. Goggle Poe, you did not. Asheron's Call was out after EverQuest. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say it was Microsoft's attempt at EverQuest. EverQuest was the template that said you can make a game and charge a subscription for it, that Microsoft wanted a piece of. And this is all before World of Warcraft changed everything. Tony has played EverQuest. Lots of people have heard of EverQuest. Not so many played it, but a lot of people have at least heard of EverQuest. Nobody's heard of Asheron's Call. Trash after the 50th level for EverQuest. Fair enough. Goggle Poe. Late 40s is not old in this chat. Wayne will turn up soon. Sauron Grant says he's going to be dead in 3 or 4 years, so it's all good. You played Asheron's Call 1 and 2. Madness. Madness. Were you invested in them at the point that Microsoft sold the IP to Turbine and half the accounts stopped playing? Anyway, that's too niche. I'm not going to talk about that. Too many people aren't interested, but another time we can talk about that. Urban Assault, a great Microsoft game that nobody played that you loved. The name's familiar, but I can't remember it. I played many, many things a long time ago, and my memory's gone to shit. When you were a kid, you played some free MMORPG, and you thought the game was called MMORPG, but you didn't know it was an initialism. You tried to pronounce it as a word. Pronouncing it as a word is probably easier. I find it really weird. MMORPG should be simple, but 80% of the time when I try and say those letters in sequence, it comes out as if I'm trying to pronounce it. They all blend into a... And it's fine. It's fine. Microsoft luring PC-centric studios onto Xbox did serious damage to the platform, whereas before that we were getting things like Baldur's Gate, Half-Life 2, Far Cry, Doom. Yeah, Microsoft's moved to Xbox. Obviously their own published games, and the MechWarrior lineup comes up a lot as well. They stopped supporting PC in the same way for a while. They dissolved some studios that people loved. Yeah, they did some harm to PC gaming. PC gamers have definitely not, by and large, forgiven them, which is why you look at Steam and you find games like Forza Horizon selling very well, Sea of Thieves selling very well. All of those games are available on Game Pass to the PC crowd. A lot of the PC crowd don't want to touch Microsoft. They'll play their games, but they'll play them on Steam. So, weird situation. They are slowly... I mean, these days they are treating PC gamers arguably better than their console gamers. You hear a lot of console people complaining that Microsoft talk too much about PC and bring their PC gamers a lot of content that Xbox fans want, like Age of Empires 4. And bringing things like Total War to PC Game Pass. Crusader Kings 3 came to PC last year, well before console. So a lot of people are recognizing that Microsoft are treating PC gamers a lot better than they were. It's just that PC gamers are such a difficult audience to keep happy. That's not true. They didn't ruin anything at all. And also not true that they're supporting PC over console. I'm not saying they're supporting PC over console. I'm saying that I see console fans getting frustrated about that. So console fans definitely are getting frustrated about that. You can just look at Twitter and you'll see it. So it's like Age of Empires 4 is a talking point for them. They want to see an Xbox version of it and they're not getting it. And they don't like that Microsoft tout it during an Xbox show. PC Master Race is an inbred type of gamers, says Tony. So Goggleplay, you play on PC. Do you buy everything on Steam, or do you use the Xbox launcher and app and Game Pass and all the rest of it? I definitely use the Xbox stuff. I already subscribe to Game Pass and I might as well. But there are, you're in the path, okay. There's a lot of PC gamers that buy things on Steam. Way more so than would purchase a game digitally on the Xbox. Yeah, each to their own indeed. And when I say, obviously when I'm talking collectively about PC gamers being a tough audience, I'm definitely not talking about everybody that plays games on the PC, because that would be ridiculous. Like, every single one of those people playing games on a PC is an individual that has their own opinions on these things. I play on PC and I will gladly play on any launcher. I don't really care about the converged platforms, but if I've got a game on Game Pass, I will play it on the Xbox app. If not, I'll play it where it's cheapest, and I'm happy for that, and I'm sure a lot of PC players are. You have over 1,500 titles on Steam. I have a lot of titles on Steam as well. Yeah, some people don't like using controllers. Some people insist on using controllers. It's all fine. Tony, so you're telling me if you buy on Steam, you can play on PC and Steam Deck? Of course. Of course, Tony. So Goggleplay used to buy a lot on Steam, but Game Pass has changed your habits quite a lot. I don't know how... like Microsoft obviously don't particularly divulge numbers for where their platform split is on Game Pass. How many people are playing it on PC, how many people use both, and all the rest of it. They've obviously got those numbers, but they keep them close to their chest. I'm sure there are a lot of people playing PC Game Pass, but there are the Microsoft games sell very well on Steam, which is a surprise when you can get them on Game Pass. So there is definitely a big audience that prefer to play there. Of course, Sauron Grant, they're all good crowds here. People that come here are the best people. No argument from me. Oh, Peter, it's not a competition. Spriggan, you'll use whichever launcher the game is on and has the best price. I think it's fair to be reluctant to use the Epic launcher. But I do have, what did I get? I got Saints Row on the Epic launcher. I've not played it yet, so I'll go there if I need to. Goggleplay does still buy on Steam. There's a ton of good games on Steam, not anywhere else. Yes, Steam has the biggest catalogue that there is. And Game Pass has a good variety as well, so you don't need to buy all that much. Yes, indeed. What else have we got? Let's do a bit of bring your own topic. No, I didn't go back to those games, actually. I don't care about those. So he's talked a little bit about PlayStation Plus having Deathloop. They've also got a couple of Ubisoft games and some other stuff in their higher tier of PlayStation Plus. Nothing that's going to convince too many people over to that service, I don't think. So I'll just quickly bring up the little pictures. You can see it. If you can see, this is it. Deathloop, Assassin's Creed Origins, Watch Dogs 2, Chicory, the monster motocross weird game, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. So not even the newest of the Dragon Ball games. That's not going to convince anyone over to the service, right? Deathloop is obviously like the headliner for extra and premium, but I wouldn't say it's a massively strong month. I don't know what's coming into Game Pass for sure this month. I know what's already come out so far. Things like Immortals Phoenix Rising, and let me have a little flick over to my PC Xbox app and see what's already come out today. Oh, it's so slow. Here we go. Here's me. Game Pass. Grid Legends I've already got on EA Play, but that's available presumably on console as well. Immortality everyone's talking about. Immortals Phoenix Rising. It's already a stronger listing before they've even stretched their legs. That's enough of that. An Xbox game being the headliner for the PlayStation service. Myst and Hades are gone, Isla. Sorry. Hades is definitely gone. I think Myst has gone. Yeah. So let's have a look at what's actually coming out this month, because there's a few things. So first, because it comes out tomorrow. Oh, that's what you were saying. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep up. But you were saying what games are dropping out of Game Pass. Yes, Hades being a huge A huge one, if you didn't get the opportunity to play Hades, I talk about it a fair amount as being incredible, because it is. Too late now to play it on Game Pass. If you haven't even tried it, you should try and get a hold of it at some point on one platform or another, because it is worthy of the praise that it gets. I saw something I wanted to check, so I'm going to find it again. So this month, obviously tomorrow, The Last of Us Remake, Remaster, version 5, part 1, reimagining, slightly prettier edition is out. It's reviewed fairly well. Everyone knows what The Last of Us is. Painful Discourse says Last of Us reviews are weird, blah blah blah, nothing new besides graphics and accessibility. Still clunky, 10 out of 10. So clunky is an interesting one. Yeah, Last of Us it's a 9.9 review on the screen right there. Like, people still love it. Some people docked a few points for it being what it is, a remake of a remaster. Top 5 video games arriving in September. I'll open that to get back to in a second. But it has mostly reviewed very positively. Not many people are complaining about the price point. Probably going to sell okay. I never liked The Last of Us when I played it the first time. I'm sure I've said before here, if you followed this show for the previous 13 episodes, then you'll know I played The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3 up to the first instant kill death against the clicker. And I wasn't having fun. That game has all the things that I hate. Dodge the spotlights and crap like that, and the gunplay was awful. Gameplay wasn't there, and the story didn't particularly grip me the first time through. So I stopped playing The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. It wasn't entirely that simple. The PlayStation 3 that I was using did break. So my PlayStation 3 stopped working. That's a good point. I forgot that it stopped working. But when I got a hold of another PlayStation 3, I didn't go back to The Last of Us. I didn't particularly care. Goggle Po. That's spoilers. You're getting ahead of me. I want to talk about that one in a minute. So yeah, that was me. The Last of Us, I didn't consider it like the best game ever because the flaws jumped out more than its positives. I played it again on the PlayStation 4. Base 4 or Pro? I can't remember. The base PlayStation 4. To play it at the 60 frames per second. And the second time around, I did stick with it. Forced myself through the bits that I didn't like. Got more engaged with the story and did end up liking the game. Peter Morland, speaking of dodging spotlights, did I play and enjoy Inside? I did not. Inside is very highly rated, but I look at it and I don't think it's a game for me. And now that you said that it's all about dodging spotlights, I'm even more inclined to not really think that it's a game for me. Which isn't to say that it's a bad game. So yes, Boozy the Clown, The Last of Us Super HD Remix. Been reviewing well. People still like The Last of Us. People still like the story. Generally, I mean, it's been reasonably well received. I'm still not going to buy it anytime soon. I'll probably play it when it arrives on PlayStation Plus for free. That's about the amount that I would like to pay for that game. They may be able to catch my attention if they do a really good PC version. Just because. But we'll see. By that point, maybe PlayStation subscription services will be on PC. We'll wait and see. Are any of you getting The Last of Us Remake, Remaster, HD Super Turbo Edition? So GogglePay, you'd like to see it on your 4K TV, but you're going to wait for the PC version. Yeah. They said that the PC version is coming soon after the PlayStation release, so you may not be waiting long if you're willing to pay the full 70 quid for it, which is probably what that one will cost when it comes to PC. Boozy the Clown played on the PlayStation 3, having been an Xbox guy for 2 gens. The Last of Us was incredible. Yeah, The Last of Us did some things incredibly well. It's a Naughty Dog game. Like, it's very tightly curated. But there are also, like I said, there are things I didn't like about it, because as I very, very openly tell you all the time, I don't like stealth games, and The Last of Us is a stealth game at its heart. So by the end of it, it's the narrative that I enjoyed and not much of the gameplay. So for me, it's a shame that the Super Turbo HD edition is more or less, broadly speaking, keeping the gameplay that it used to have, rather than bringing it up to that Last of Us 2 standard. And I know that they have changed some things about the way the animations chain and all the rest of it, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more. Patrick is going to pass. You're going to wait for 2024 for the Last of Us 2 remake double pack. Seems inevitable. They're going to bring the Last of Us 2 to the PC. They're not going to be able to neglect the PlayStation fan base. There's going to be a PlayStation 5 update. Makes sense to bundle it. Are you getting the Last of Us Part 1 remake is the current poll. Isla, your poll is inadequate. But thank you for trying. Because it needs a now, later, or no kind of option. But it's fine. People vote whatever you want or don't vote. That's all good. For me, I'm firmly in the later and probably not paying for it group. Give it to me on a subscription. I can wait. Everybody knows the story. Nothing's going to change on that game between now and when it goes on to PlayStation Plus. What's the hurry? Is the way that I see it. Now I need to get rid of this poll so I can see chat again. So Goggleplay, you still prefer The Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4 over The Last of Us 1? I'm afraid so, Isla. I'm sorry if I got you out the bath prematurely. But I'm glad you didn't electrocute yourself to put the poll up, so... Could have been worse. Gogglepo, am I into JRPGs? I most definitely am a secret JRPG nerd. Hence, I've managed to put over 60 hours into Octopus Traveller right now, despite it not being a particularly good JRPG. So, that's The Last of Us anyway. Let's have a little look. This little article came in. Top 5 games arriving in September 2022. This is not an article from me, so I don't actually know what's on this list. But let's see what we're looking forward to. The Deerfield Chronicle. I'm going to mute the OST for a bit. So there's a demo of this game. I haven't played it yet. I don't need to because I know I want this game from the trailer that I saw. It's from Square Enix, everybody's favourite publisher, who have been shite for many years, but fingers crossed. That's not how you cross your fingers, by the way. If you're looking for a tutorial on crossing fingers, that's not the one. Fingers crossed. Square Enix are good now. Their JRPGs have not really been their problem. Mishandling of Final Fantasy aside, their more niche JRPGs have remained pretty strong over the years. Dfield Chronicle fits that criteria for me. I'm going to bring the trailer up. So it's a tactical turn-based one. There is a demo. Some of you may have played the demo. It is, strangely enough, coming to all of the platforms. I can't hear the sound. I'm going to turn my sound on with my toe. Is that Game On Daily the world's best gaming news site? It's Game On Daily the world's best news aggregation, social media, community platform. I wouldn't go anywhere else to start my journey into uncovering gaming news. See, you got boats, and they do boat stuff. And you got blowing things up, but it is, at its heart, a tactical RPG. I've been hoping that Triangle Strategy makes its way off of the Switch. So Triangle Strategy is a JRPG, tactical, turn-based one, like you're seeing on the screen, from the makers of Octopus Traveller, and it came out as a Switch exclusive. I've heard no word of it coming to other platforms, but I'd very much like to play it, and I'd very much like to play it on something that's not a Switch. In the meantime, I've got the Deerfield Chronicles coming. Am I into boat stuff? Not especially. It's just that there were boats on the screen and I wanted to sound enthusiastic. So Deerfield Chronicles promises, like, it claims to have a very mature storyline, which means it doesn't mean boobs. I was going to say it means boobs. For Western developers, a mature storyline, particularly European developers, a mature storyline means sexy time. For Japanese developers, hopefully it just means a good story. So this is supposed to have a mature, which means in-depth, like nuanced characters, good story, And it just looks like a good game. So that comes out this month. I don't think loads of people are... Tony Triangle Strategy is not available on PC. You can emulate things on the Steam Deck, but I can't be asked. I don't want a Steam Deck. I might as well play it on the Switch if I wanted to play portably. I do not. I don't like 15 frames per second. I don't hate the Switch. I should clarify. I often come across as someone that hates the Switch. I hate Mario as a character. I don't hate Nintendo. I hate the way that they price their games. But it's more... I don't play games portably. And I'm a nerd who pushes technology as hard as I can. I want to play the best versions of everything. And the Switch is not that in any circumstance. Unless you like to play portably, which I don't. So, I do like 15 frames per second. Yes, any number of frames per second is thoroughly enjoyable. No. This is why I want it to play at proper performance and looking nice on a big TV with good sound that the Switch can't deliver either. Any fiction that doesn't let characters swear is immersion breaking. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. I also wasn't particularly listening to the trailer, so if they weren't swearing there, I apologise to you, Isla. You don't have to play it. Let's see what's next on the list, though. That's the Deerfield Chronicles. Give me a little, like, yeah, I'm playing that. If you're a JRPG fan and if you're getting that game. Even after a year, games are still full price. That's a Nintendo crime, yes. A Nintendo crime that PlayStation are slowly adopting. Let's have a look at what's next. Bring up my list again. So, Deerfield Chronicles. Of all the September games, I suspect this is the one that I'm looking forward to the most. Don't know a lot about it. Know that I want it. I'll probably buy that. Hopefully I will have finished Octopus Traveller in time to fully invest in Deerfield Chronicle, and then you won't see me for a little while. Valkyrie Elysium. Oh, interesting. I've not played any of the Valkyrie Profile series. I'm going to bring up the trailer anyway to see if it's going to convince me. So this one's a PlayStation only. I think they're bringing the original... The first two games in the series were like PlayStation 2 and before, I think. They're re-releasing something and they're bringing this one out. Despite the world being in the state it is. Does anyone know this series? Is the series any good? It's got big spider things, people wearing white. Oh, it's not what I expected. Okay. So, Japanese action RPG from the looks. I've already lost my homeland. Yeah, I want this too. I want this too. Even if you didn't like it, it won't hurt. So, yes, Gogglepo, as far as I know. I don't think this one is. I'll check in a second. So, the Deerfield Chronicles was definitely on PC and Xbox.
My name is Christopher. I have protected this land and its people as my forefathers did before me.
Alright, we're going to leave that trailer behind because I want to read what it said. It is something about Tri-Ace, blah blah blah, so made by Solil. Blah blah blah, it's the remaster of the PlayStation 1 original. Both titles will be exclusive to PlayStation consoles. So no, not Xbox for that one, unless this website is completely wrong. And this is COD connected. They're usually accurate. I wouldn't expect them to be wrong. They don't typically guess at things. Horrible amount of adverts, but otherwise one of the decent ones. And that's page 1. Let's see what else is coming out on page 2. No, that wasn't Deerfield. That was Valkyrie Elysium. So we moved on to game 2. Deerfield Chronicles is definitely coming out on Xbox. The demo is already on Xbox. You can go and play it right now if you want, or right after this show, which is soon enough. FIFA 23. I don't even want to put the trailer on FIFA. Piss off with your terrible rendition of football. Let's talk about FIFA anyway. Who plays FIFA? Does anybody here play FIFA? Obviously millions of people play FIFA. It's super popular. I think for the last large number of years, EA have actually done a really, really good job of making a game that looks like a Sky Sports football presentation. Unfortunately, they've done that at the expense of having a game that's fun to play. Spriggan hasn't played it since the 360. Tony is unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass. Painful discourse with the classic I play FIFA, big delay. Not. Saurongrot's grandson has armbarred him and forced him to pre-order FIFA. Now they're going to Game Pass, even better. Yeah, they will towards the end of the season, but still whilst current, it will go into Game Pass. All the more reason not to buy it. Yeah. Like, it's a weird series. Obviously the monetization is terrible. The annual release, the Ultimate Team stuff is all bullshit. Okay, that looked a lot worse than I expected. But typically the games, when you see them running on the TV, there's some talent behind it. So I'd say, I don't know American football, but I'm assuming the Madden games are the same. Like, look pretty impressive in a lot of ways and just aren't fun to play. But I'll let my American friends tell me if that's true, because American football's weird to me. Your favourite FIFA is still the one on the Mega Drive. Well, Spriggan, the FIFA games were better when the B button was standing tackle. And if you do play FIFA games, I can't remember what year that was, but at some point they changed it to holding down a button to pressure the ball, which looks more realistic. It does look more realistic as a game, like better for spectators, but gameplay wise it's crap. It's crap. FIFA is crap now. And it's a shame there's not really any good alternatives, because a lot of people used to say that they preferred playing Pro Evo. Pro Evo fell off a cliff. And now you've got a choice of FIFA or Mario Soccer. I don't think there really are any good ones that you can play. Sega Worldwide Soccer, that was terrible, but it was funny. That was a Saturn football game that I used to play a bit, which was ridiculous and always caused laughs. Number 2 on the list, NBA 2K23. So this will probably get Dealer playing it. I know he plays the NBA games. Basketball games are typically more fun than... And no, I'm speaking nonsense, because I've not played a basketball game since like the Mega Drive Genesis era either. Basketball games like NBA Jam used to be fun. If it plays like NBA Jam, it might be good. Who plays basketball games? I'm skipping through these sport ones because I don't do them, but if you are invested in these, if you play these, if you played last year's ones, or if you're planning on playing these new ones, I would very much like to hear. The basketball and American football ones, I literally have no idea if they're good games or not. I have a good understanding of FIFA. I've played that series, I've seen how it's developed, and I know the sport. Basketball and American football are just like MLB The Show. Baseball, I don't know, is it good? I don't know. Freaking baseball, I don't care. Tell me, fans of the sport, are these good games? Goggleplay plays NBA 2K every year. Good, so you're getting this one. It's a Jordan year. What does that mean? What does that mean? Oh, Jordan 23. Is this like the Madden ones? Is there a curse, like the opposite? So rather than athletes getting injured whenever they go on the cover determines how good the game is going to be. And the last one was in 2014. Well, I hope that superstition plays out and it turns out to be a good game for people that like it. People discourse, the last FIFA that you played by yourself was one with Song 2 by Blur. Which one was it? I don't know. But if it came out when the song did, not recent. So Spriggan, in your humble opinion, Football Manager is better than FIFA, but you had to cut it out completely because it's addictive to an unhealthy level. Yeah, Football Manager games, I haven't played for a long, long time either. I know that people get properly stuck in them and just dump hours and hours and hours into season after season. 1997. Yeah, back when FIFA was okay. I got a feeling FIFA 95 might have been when I stopped playing, but I did sample some later than that. And yeah, downhill from there. Downhill in gameplay, uphill in graphics. Gameplay matters more. F1 Manager has now taken over your life, replacing Footy Manager. Are you into F1 as well? I'm going to assume you're not an F1 driver, but into the sport, the real life version. Wait, we haven't finished. There's going to be one more game. And I got a feeling it's not The Last of Us. Yeah, so COD Connected don't list The Last of Us Super HD Remix Turbo at all in their top 5 games for September. Their last one is Splatoon 3. Do we have any Splatoon players here? Splatoon had an open demo for the weekend, so there was opportunity to play it. Splatoon is one of the most... I got rid of it. Splatoon is one of the most aesthetically appealing Nintendo games to me. Always has been. I played the first one though on whatever console it was on, and it was the motion controls were too heavily ingrained. So the first one had options to play with a controller, but the way that you could move the camera was weirdly limited, and it was clearly designed around waving sticks around. So I didn't get anywhere with it. I never played Splatoon 2 beyond, I think I walked into the hub world on it. But there's something about it that should be good. It should be an interesting little competitive game on the Switch. The paint looks nice. And again, I'm not likely to play it because it's on the Switch. But how about you? Are there any Splatoon 3 players, fans of previous ones? People looking forward to this one? Patrick's not really sure where your Switch is. I know exactly where mine is. Under my toe right now. I'm pressing the left bumper with my toe. Just to prove no point at all. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'll stop doing it. But yeah, my Switch is by my feet where it lives. It doesn't get used. You haven't heard of Cremond? Oh, I see. I see. We're talking music now. See, Splatoon looks kind of fun. It's got a big paintbrush, it's hitting stuff, it's got a grapple like all the games last year had. And there's paint everywhere. Spider mech thing. I'd play this if it was on Xbox, PC or PlayStation. Hell, I might even give it a go if it was on Google Stadia. That'll be fun, right? Put that subscription to work. Painful discourse, we are not doing a toe camera. This is not a Switch stream. So Google Post says, Splatoon is a lot of fun. You play with your nephews and nieces when you visit them. Good. Has it got split screen? Have they managed to one-up Halo? We didn't talk about Halo yet. We are right at the end of the show, but very quickly. How are we feeling about Halo? They had a fairly disappointing roadmap reveal today. Splatoon's trailer can keep playing while we talk Halo, that's fine. So they have outright cancelled split screen co-op on Halo. Was anyone anticipating playing split screen co-op? Tell you about Halo. Yes, Isla, don't worry. We're still going a little bit longer. First point of the roadmap that I mentioned is split screen co-op is cancelled, because this is the question. I want to know if anyone cares about split screen co-op for their own benefit. I know people are disappointed because it's a feature that they promised to put in there, and it's a feature that Bonnie Ross said would always be in Halo games going forwards after people were so disappointed that it was dropped from Halo 5. So the head of 343 said publicly that the studio learned a painful lesson by not including split screen in Halo 5, and it wouldn't happen again. They have now confirmed that it is happening again, after all, on the already released Halo Infinite, where they promised it coming later. So split screen is dropped forever. Personally, I was not going to play it split screen. I like local co-op It's still a nice idea, though. For the people that do have people in their home that they play it within that way, that's a big loss, because there aren't that many games you can play in that way. And Halo traditionally is supposed to have been there. Microsoft isn't giving them enough money, it seems, or doesn't know what to do with them, and 343 is lost. Looks like it's broken. MVG said it's probably technical. There's not many open world couch co-op games. Yeah, this is true painful discourse. I'm sure it's technical. The interesting question there, though, is the Xbox One. Are we all suffering because they couldn't get split screen working on the Xbox One? Because Halo Infinite already has, if you play online co-op, it already has a tether. You can't get that far apart. It doesn't need to load the whole world. Yes, painful discourse. Halo Infinite, I think, would be quite a different game if they weren't supporting the Xbox One. But in terms of split screen, they could surely limit that to the bigger platforms and not upset too many people. Like, people would understand that the Xbox One couldn't do it, couldn't they? Even if they were unable to get a hold of an Xbox Series console for whatever reason and were really hoping to play it, they'd probably understand. Or am I giving people too much credit? Sure, some people would complain. People complain about everything, but the Lost Odyssey Ost. Oh no, I gave it away. The game, you mugs. It's Lost Odyssey. Oh, I can't believe I get the points for this one. The OST is back. The game, as Tony said at the start of the stream, sounded a lot like a Final Fantasy game. It looked a lot like a Final Fantasy game. It played a lot like a Final Fantasy game, but it was an Xbox game. It is Lost Odyssey. If you've never played Lost Odyssey, it still holds up. Still worth playing today. It is a good JRPG. Possibly one of the last of its kind. It plays like a traditional Final Fantasy game. It's written like a Final Fantasy game. It's quite a compelling story. It's quite a long game. It was 4 discs back in its day. Now it is one convenient download. I will say that it's a lot of reading. Not much of it is voiced. So there's a lot of reading in Lost Odyssey, but it is an interesting game. Tale of an immortal and a few immortals and their mortal friends and various things, but with that very Japanese twist that will take it to directions you wouldn't necessarily expect. Good game. I can't remember it that well. The only thing I can really remember about Lost Odyssey is that it had a wild difficulty spike right near the start that's never replicated again for the entirety of the rest of the game. But despite that, you should play it. And if you get to some flying boss, I can't remember if it was a griffin or an eagle or what it was, but if you get to some boss near the start of the game and you go, oh, this is difficult, persevere, get through, use every item that you need to. The game's easier after that, and really, really good. You remember making 8-disc games? It was a crazy time. Yeah. Anyway, that's Lost Odyssey. That's the OST that's been playing today. Big recommend. Play it. It is very old. But it's very old, and I seem to recall most of it. In my head, it's got 2D backgrounds that still hold up. I could play it now and go, what the fuck? That's not... That was the era where they moved to 3D, and actually it doesn't hold up at all. But no, I think it holds up, and I think you should play it. And I think Microsoft should do something with it and bring it back. You even liked Enchanted Arms. Oh, Gogglepa, you have played some games. Yeah, I liked Enchanted Arms when it came out. It wasn't a good game, but it was a rare treat to play a JRPG. It would not hold up well today, Enchanted Arms. Lost Odyssey will hold up today. Enchanted Arms, probably not. Blue Dragon holds up well. So Blue Dragon... We're talking Mistwalker games now. So Enchanted Arms, yeah, FromSoft game, but Lost Odyssey was from Mistwalker. So it had... Oh, what's the fella's name? Mr. Final Fantasy formed his own studio. Made Blue Dragon, first of all, which has characters from Toriyama. It's a JRPG with A lot of positives, but for me, Sakaguchi, thank you. But with a quite underwhelming story. The Blue Dragon story is kind of similar to Skies of Arcadia. So you've got a nice world, nice characters, a lot of positives in the combat and the game. But the overall story is not that sophisticated. Lost Odyssey is different. Lost Odyssey is a full-on grown-ups game. Japanese grown-ups game, so not boobs and blood, but actually a mature story. Very good one. Yeah, them some old games that some people have played and some people haven't. They're still there. Go play them. They're good still. What was I talking about? Halo. So, Halo. Tony Okami, devs are just getting out of the boomer thinking of making games, which was arcade games out in the wild for many years, then working on the next game years later. I don't know about that. Devs are... There are definitely some old boomer devs around there, but by and large it's a fairly young workforce, I think. Fighting against publishers that are seeing the future of everything that they've come to love in mobile gaming. So I'll take the boomers over the microtransactions. Dark Cloud 2 is your favourite of all. I've never played that, so now I need to, because I can see you have impeccable taste in games. Just from the ones that you've listed for me. So Dark Cloud 2, I'm going to have to find a way to play. Crimson Sea, yeah, heard of it, played it. Did I play it? I can't remember. I get it confused with Crimson Skies for obvious similarities in the name, despite being a different game. Japanese grown-up games are just boobs, aren't they? No. So they do have the likes of Dead or Alive and things, but I think I don't think they call those mature. I think those are their family-friendly boob games. So you think Dark Cloud 2 is a Jack favourite? Dark Cloud 2, what was it on? Was it not a PlayStation game? I'm so confused. Okay. There's just like a long old life of games to remember. Takado, welcome. You are right at the death of the stream, so hit the like button, because surely you like this last few minutes. PlayStation 2, yeah. Yeah, when I say a PlayStation game, I mean full spectrum, somewhere in the history of PlayStation. They all blend together. Yeah. I've got, like, the main character of Dark Cloud 2 in my head. I recognise it, but I've never played it. Mature Japanese games, like their anime, go all in on philosophy and metaphysics. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the Japanese definition of mature is, I think, different. I don't know. I could be speaking complete nonsense, but when the Deerfield Chronicles trailer assures me that it's a mature story... What's that noise? Some noise just started playing in my ear. I think the OST just, like, decided that I could hear it for the first time in this whole stream. That was weird. Yeah, so when they say a mature story, I take it as a mature story, not the Western seedy take on maturity. I did panic, it's too late, but thank you for the reassuring words. Dark Cloud 2 is an action RPG with town building aspects. 2 has much more charm than the first one. Yeah, this is why I have that singular character in my head. On some rocks. That's all I can remember. On some rocks. I'm sure of it. I'm going to find it. Got the character. I was hoping that I'd type it into Google and the first image I would find would be the one that I've got in my head where he's on some rocks. But no, it's not. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It is the game that I was thinking of. But I have not played it, so something to do at some point. It's the side effects of VR gaming. No, Tony. No, I'm in tip-top condition. I've just had a long day. Your attention span is about 3 seconds long. Halo. let's get this out of the way so we can all finish up and go and enjoy the rest of the week until the next show, because there's another one next week and we'll be right back here having fun again. So split screen co-op is gone, not happening at all. The actual release of co-op is delayed. Not sure by how much. So they've given the next 2 seasons, they've given a November to March window for season 2, and then a March to whenever season 3. Season 2 looks very limited in content. They are bringing the Forge beta, which is a big thing. Forge is a big deal for Halo, because you've seen the things that people are creating in Forge. It will make a big difference. It will give people things to do. So Forge is a positive. Co-op, they had available to insiders to play for a little while. I guess it didn't quite go according to plan. The problems were going to take a little bit longer to iron out and get ready. Which I say that in like an it's okay kind of tone, but actually it's probably not okay. Halo has been a bit of a disastrous launch. As a live service game, it's just... I liked what they launched with in the single player campaign. There are definitely valid criticisms, both of the story and of the technology. But broadly, I liked what they did with the story. I had fun playing it. The live service element of Halo Infinite landed badly and has not improved over time. And they're still floundering, which is a shock for a studio like that. Because live service isn't new in this industry. They should be able to look at their peers and get an idea of how to run it. So there's a small free 30 level battle pass in November. Yeah, so this is their season 2. So it's a shrunk down 30 level battle pass that they're giving away for free. There are 2 arena maps, I think. And at some point in that season, they're going to bring the co-op and the Forge beta. So that's... The number of maps is still fairly shockingly small. But I mean, if it had a better starting point, 2 maps for a season would probably be fine. But oh, match XP, that's the other thing. That's also listed as a beta feature. Which is, again, it was a weird absence. So I'm assuming when in the roadmap, they mentioned match XP as a beta feature. And I assume that means that they'll start rewarding your individual performance with the battle pass progression. In Halo's launch state, you only got experience for completing the challenges. And they tweaked it a little bit to encourage playing a bit more, but they never tied it to your individual performance. So nobody had any reason to play any objectives or do anything in particular, try and play well. It didn't change the way that you progressed in the game. Now they're addressing that, hopefully. Patrick's going to go back to Halo when Forge is fully integrated. Until then, you think you're good for now. Yeah, Tony says give Halo multiplayer to Blizzard, but Tony, they'll turn it into a hero shooter, won't they? I don't know that I'd necessarily... A lot of people say take Halo away from 343, and I understand that. But someone at 343 clearly understands what makes Halo's gameplay good. They just need to... I don't know what they need to do. I don't know if they can rescue it at this point. You just let 343 support it and start a new Halo studio. Maybe, yeah. This is a weird one. You'd think that they'd be able to instill live service management into that studio. Hire some people that have done it before. Get someone from Respawn. Get someone from Epic. Get somebody that knows how to run a live service. I can do it. But they haven't done that yet. It's still a mess. So, and what are they bringing after that? So they're bringing another couple of maps in March. And some narrative content, but there's no clear idea of what narrative content means. So hopefully it means something like the single player narrative is going to be carried forwards or explored backwards, and they can go in both directions on that one. But So Gogglepo means that 343 supporting the current Halo Infinite, but start a new studio for the next one. Yeah. It's difficult, like... Yeah. You keep hearing that 343 is not the same studio anymore. Not the same as what point in time? Because 343's first Halo was, to me, not good. I didn't like Halo 4. Some people liked the narrative on Halo 4. Some people liked the single player. Nobody liked the multiplayer on Halo 4. I say nobody, I don't mean it literally. If you're sitting there thinking, I loved the multiplayer on Halo 4, I know you exist and people have their own opinions, but broadly, the multiplayer for Halo 4 wasn't that well received and the campaign was. I didn't like the campaign for Halo 4. They did... Oh, this isn't nice sounds. They did really well with the engine and the graphics and so on. It's probably the best looking Xbox 360 game that you can get. But why did they make Cortana all curvy? Why did they push romance between Chief and Cortana? It was a weird take. I didn't like 4. Wasn't interested in that. 5 was a campaign mess. Yes, Isla, precisely that. It was weird. Gogglepoth thought Halo 4 and 5 were fine. Halo 5 was a bit unfortunate. I had some sympathy with them because they were let down a bit by the Xbox One. So Halo 5 had a staunch determination to run at 60 frames per second. It had fairly grand design and ambition for its campaign, and the console that it released on really couldn't run it. So you could it just looked ugly. Ran well, but it didn't look anything like it should have done. It probably looks quite nice if you go back and play it on the Series X, and they did what they did with the story, which people were not happy with, and they did what they did with the marketing, which people were not happy with. But I really liked the multiplayer on Halo 5. Didn't play it that much, but I liked it. Your nephews are hardcore Halo fans, and well, they grew up with it, and they hated 4 and 5. Hate's a strong word for a game, but yeah, I couldn't really get into them. Didn't like the direction that the story went. Didn't like the Prometheans or whatever they were called, the new enemy. So Halo Infinite was a good reboot in a sense. Like, it brought things back to what I liked about the first 3, but it wasn't an elegant or graceful reboot. The gaps in time between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite are weirdly explained away. And they've had this live service disaster, and the live service disaster isn't limited to the multiplayer because the campaign was supposed to be a 10-year effort as well. So they've done fucked up. It's more hate that it wasn't 3 or Reach is what you got. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. I don't know what Microsoft should do with it next, really. I don't know how they've managed to leave that studio floundering for this length of time. It's been a lot of years to make Halo Infinite, and they've had a lot of time to support Halo Infinite. Tony is pointing out, Tony, just ignore people on Twitter. You don't need to pay attention to them. Some knobheads on Twitter saw the news that Sony have acquired like 14% of From Software. In the same report, it's mentioned that Tencent now have 16% of From Software, but because 1 or 2 websites ran a fake banner that had the Sony logo or the PlayStation logo and the From Software logo side by side, some people saw it and got carried away and thought that From Software were now a Sony studio. Went all over Twitter with the twits saying, wow, it's like all of the best games this year are from Sony studios, and ran away with the idea that From Software are now a Sony studio. They are very much not a Sony studio. They are owned like 69 point something percent owned by Kadokawa Games still, or Kadokawa whatever they are, I don't know what else they do. And Elden Ring is still Elden Ring. Elden Ring, as you know, is behind me right now. And that little fire thing, it doesn't look right. The lighting's all wrong, which reminds me, that From Software promised a ray tracing update for Elden Ring, much like 343 promised a ray tracing update for Halo. And they haven't delivered it, but people aren't quite as mad about it. Because Elden Ring did deliver everything that people wanted. DLC for Elden Ring when? Soon, Tony, soon. Soon. What else? Quantic Dream have been acquired by NetEase. There we go. They're still making a Star Wars game, I guess. Anything else happened this week? Any more bring your own topics, or are we done? Oh, we've run long. It's been... I did start late, which I'm very apologetic for. But I didn't start as late as Peter, who joined us a whole half an hour after we began. Elden Ring doesn't exactly run that great as it is. A ray tracing update would be a big off to performance brig, and that's partial truth. I don't know if it would hurt performance. Elden Ring's performance problems aren't that it's capping GPU use or anything like that. It just has these weird stutters in certain places. I'm not saying ray tracing update on the consoles, I mean on the PC. Give me ray tracing, I don't care about everybody else. Now Elden Ring is under 50, you're tempted. So, dollars. Elden Ring kindly launched at under 50 quids here. Way below Sony price. Will I be streaming Shipbreaker? What's Shipbreaker? I am saying that with a P. Shipbreaker. What is that? You will watch what you missed tomorrow. It should be funny, Peter. You will see how hurt I am when you said that I needed to abandon the stream that I'd started. Ray tracing usually cuts the frames per second in half. They'd need to add DLSS and FSR to mitigate the hit. Yes, they would probably need to do that. I don't mind games that can't run on today's hardware. Like Cyberpunk is a good example. I'm still waiting for that. I'm going to get the next generation of super graphics cards so that I can play that at its best. That's how games used to release. Features that we understand but don't necessarily have the power to run yet. Sure, throw them in there. People can use them later. Adds value to the game. Adds a tail. Play the trailer. Physics-based space sim about breaking down derelict ships. I know the game that you're talking about now. I saw the trailer that said everyone loves it and it's super relaxing. Oh, play the trailer. You're so demanding. Finding the trailer. Hard Space, that's what it's called. Here we go. Let's play it. Oh, here, there you go. Shipbreaker trailer.
Hey, Cutter.
I'm gonna be honest.
You're from Earth, right?
This is more than just a job.
I file this with Power Wash Simulator. It doesn't look as relaxing as Power Wash Simulator, but I think that it is really. Like that bit of trailer didn't blend well with what I'm saying, and like I file this with Power Simulator, and then they got someone exploding and dying in space, and it's not similar at all. But this, there we go. It's a work sim. They just called it, so I'm right. The finest work sim out there. And a lot of people really like Power Wash Simulator. Constantly satisfying and all of that stuff. So it's one of those games that I'm going to respect but probably not play. I'm not going to stream that. There are too many games for me to do a job. Give me this in virtual reality. My treadmill won't make any sense floating around in space, but I'd do it anyway. Look at that. Really good reviews. Everyone loves it. But you've had my answer. No, not planning to play Shipbreaker. You can though. Trailer has given you actual story. I don't think so. It said it was a work simulator. Wait, still stuff playing in the background for me. One thing that we missed. One thing that I missed, not you. You haven't missed it. Tradition. So the performance leak for the Nvidia 4000 series is making them look pretty nutty. You don't want to think of the prices though after what we have with the 3000 series. There's a lot of rumors that the prices might not be as bad just because they fucked some other stuff up in terms of stock surplus and over-ordering, overconfidence in the crypto market. So if we're lucky, the prices will be... I mean, it would obviously be nice if they were lower than they used to be, but this is your favourite bit. It's not my favourite bit. There's so many me's and I hate every single one. Bleh. So here's a question for other stuff. Are games bad in Pancake that are great in VR and vice versa? Peter, Isla is writing that down immediately unless she's still in the bath, in which case she'll write it down later. But that is a question I can take away for her since you asked. Yes. Nutty as in good. I'm assuming nutty is good there. Yes. Ace Exception. Yeah, I need to get rid of that before everyone explodes. It just happens every stream. You just assumed that it was a 70 game. Radeon with the Maxwell type architecture sounds promising. I wish I could believe that AMD are going to become competitive with Nvidia again. I prefer them as a company, but Nvidia is just too far ahead at the moment. I say that as someone that's not been looking at what AMD are doing. I've not paid close attention to things that I can't afford to buy. I try and avoid it. Everyone should ask a question. Yeah, if you've never asked a question or watched the Since You Asked episodes, so what I do with those is people ask questions here or in a YouTube comment or anywhere else, and all I have to do is answer it. I just talk a little bit and then I send the footage over to Isla and she edits it into a video that's more fun than just me talking. So if you look around the YouTube channel for a video titled Since You Asked, they're short. They're 3 to 5 minutes answering a question with some fun editing. So have a look at those as well. Spriggan is saying the 4070 is supposed to be on a par with a 3090 or a 3090 Ti. If that's real, imagine the bigger ones. Imagine the power draw. Imagine the ray tracing. Yes, I'm imagining. I'm gonna become a mercenary. Gonna do some assassinating of anybody really, whatever earns me the money, and I'm gonna own one of those. And I'm going to play Cyberpunk. And I'm going to regret all of the assassinations. Because the game is not good enough to warrant people's lives. But the plan is in motion, so it is what it is. Tony, if Shipbreaker comes into VR, via mod or otherwise, yes, I will stream it. Yes. Did you know that all the sunflowers in Elden Ring are facing the Erd Tree? I did not. Didn't even know that there were sunflowers. But that's a nice touch. Those games have lots of nice touches. That's what makes them fun to explore. It is a well-built world. Why would ray tracing matter when you're running about in a game? Leave me alone. And that is the end of today's stream. So thanks everyone for coming by and watching for all that time. Sorry it was a bit disjointed. Like I say, I didn't prepare very well at all today because issues. I'm going to get up. I'm going to check that my kid hasn't run away from home while I've been here, but pretty sure he's asleep now. And that is the end. Go Live. Gaz is back around now, so Go Live on Saturday will be back to its usual kind of format. I might mute him occasionally and do some more talking. And streaming will happen whenever it happens. And this show will be back next week, and everything carries on. So thanks again, and I'll see you then.
ASA, Game On Daily.